And back to our top story now. Today, a jury found Barry Bonds guilty on 1 of 4 federal counts. Jury members convicted Bonds on a single count of obstruction of justice. Now, that means they believe he was evasive and deliberately misled investigators about steroid use in 2003. They were deadlocked on 3 counts of perjury. The judge declared a mistrial on those charges. Bonds, though, could face up to 10 years in prison on the guilty verdict, though most experts agree that he will likely get 2 years of home confinement. Jury members say despite all the allegations against Bonds, there just wasn't enough proof.
The evidence that he did steroids might have been there, but did he knowingly do steroids was the question. And we couldn't prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. There was just a piece of the puzzle missing.
Counts 1, 2, and 3 were the heart of their case. Those were the counts which had allegations about steroids, allegations about human growth hormone, and so forth. We have no verdict on those counts.
Hearing is now set for May 20th to determine whether the government wants to retry him on those perjury counts.
Joining us now for a little perspective, more perspective on today's development, CBS 5 legal analyst Paul Henderson, and thanks for joining us again today. We talked to you earlier, but the thing where I want to start is my question about finding him guilty on 1 count and the 3 they got hung up on. How do they convict Bonds of obstruction of justice when they couldn't decide on basically the elements that he was being evasive about or that he had perjured himself on?
Well, we never know what's exactly in the mind of the jurors, but just listening to their comments, one of the ways that they could have found that is that based on his answers, they found that he was not helping them, that he was obstructing justice, that he had interfered in the investigation that was ongoing. And one of the things that I'm sure that they must have weighed and evaluated was that that investigation did yield convictions. People were convicted in the Balco sting.
Now, you were telling me the judge does not have to allow government prosecutors to retry him on those 3 charges, is that right?
That's correct. I think what we can expect is that the defense attorneys are going to bring a motion to try and throw the remaining count and the conviction out based on Rule 29, which basically would be a challenge saying that the conviction as it stands is legally inconsistent, so that the perjury charges, when they were found not true, could not serve as a foundation to sustain an obstruction of justice charge.
How likely is it that the government's going to keep at this? I mean, it's been a long time, it's been expensive. All of those things combined, how likely is that?
Well, it's been a long time and it's been expensive and they haven't gone away yet. And at the end of the day, this is really about the pursuit of justice. And just because you're a star and just because it's difficult to win a case is not a reason to dismiss a case or to allow it to drift away. I think one of the interesting issues is now what's going to happen to Greg Anderson.
Well, that's my next question. Well, he's still behind bars.
He's actually been released now.
Is he released now? The trial's over?
Yeah, I think they've released him now, but the government has said that they may pursue charges against him, both for contempt or for obstruction of justice for him, for not giving his testimony.
Okay, we have about 10 seconds. What about prison time? Likelihood of that for Barry Bonds?
Well, the prison time, even if you look back on what the judge has done in the past in association with high-profile cases and athletes and steroid use and abuse, both times that she's had cases in front of her, she's indicated and given sentences of 6 months to a year of home detention. The real issue in this case is what it means for his Hall of Fame status and that asterisk. That's going to be the key for this case.
And we won't know for a while.
We won't know for a little while, a couple of weeks at least.
All right. Paul Henderson, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
All right. Dana?
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.